Komiði sæl og verið velkomin í klefan. Markmiðið að finna leiðir til að bæta árangurinn. Gefum Silju Úlfars orðið.
Já, komið sæl og veriði velkomin í klefan. Þátturinn í dag, ég rosa ánægð með þátturinn í dag og það sem sagt meistarinn, Ólympíu og heimsmeistarinn Dwight Phillips, hann var langstökkvari og í dag að þjálfa mikið af langstökkurum og öðru íþróttafólki. Hann með okkur í dag en ég ákvað að taka þennan þátt, þetta viðtal skipti í 2 parta. Fyrri parturinn íþróttamaðurinn Dwight Phillips og förum ekki ferilinn hans og ups and downs og allt þetta og hvað hann gekk í gegnum. Mjög áhugavert og hann alveg að segja okkur, þú veist, svona hvernig manni líður á stórmótum sem mér finnst mjög áhugavert, ég skal viðurkenna það. Seinni þátturinn meir þjálfun og þú veist, góða þjálfara og hraða og allt þetta og hvað þetta allt snýst saman. Mæli með að þið hlustið, fyrir þátturinn kemur á 3. degi og hinn kemur á 5. degi, þannig að við þurfum ekki að hafa svona langt á milli, það var nú gaman að geta gert þetta oftar. En þetta podcast væri bara ekki að virka nema ég væri með þessa frábæra samstarfsaðila sem ég hef. Fyrsti ætla ég að segja good. Við erum sjúk á heimilinu í good vörunar. Ég náttúrulega bara mömmuviskupið mitt bara að gera frábæra hluti núna út af því að ég veit að til dæmis í súkkulaðinu 88% minni sykur en í venjulegu súkkulaði. Ég var náttúrulega bara hætt að kaupa hitt. Nú get ég byrjað að kaupa aftur skal ég segja ykkur. Og þau eru komið hvítt súkkulaði og það geggjað. Við fjölskyldan sátum eiginlega bara daginn með teskeiðar að smakka allar vörurnar og við erum að elska bæði súkkulaðin hvíta og brúna súkkulaði. Sulturnar líka alveg dásamlegar út af því að þú finnir að þetta ekki svona sykur. Þetta bara svolítið bara ferskir ávextir og maður upplifir það. Þannig að mæli með að kíkja á good, ekki spurning. Hafið fiskverslun, það eru 2 verslanir. Það ein í Hlíðasmára og hin í Spönginni. Bara hvet ykkur, við náttúrulega verslum við mína samstarfsaðila, ekki spurning, við erum öllum að vinna saman. Í hafinu, ok, þetta mjög skrítið, en já, höldum áfram. Í hafinu frábæri réttir, ég elska tilbúna réttina, en svo líka hægt að finna á hafi.is, heimasíðun þeirra, alls konar uppskriftir sem að kannski einhver þarf að fá einhverja uppskriftir og hugmyndir og þá finnið þið það bara þar. Þriðji samstarfsaðilinn okkar heilsuhillan frá Athens. Ég að nota núna vítamínsprayin þeirra og mér finnst það svo gott, mér finnst það svo góð á bragði að meiri segja daginn þegar ég var að fara eitthvað, mér vantaði eitthvað svona smá freshen up að þá fékk ég mér D-vitamíni, það svona eins og minnir að sé það sem myndubragði eitthvað, það ógeðslega gott bragð af því, þannig að þetta svona ok, ég var eiginlega að segja þetta var eins og andfýlusspray, en ég samt það, ég þarf bara kannski að skoða það betur, en mér finnst það ógeðslega gott á bragði. Herri, og nútrilengið, ég algjörlega tím nútrileng, en þetta svona gott, til dæmis fyrir þessum þjásta styrleika eða braki í liðum. Ég ætti kannski að senda Dwight svona, því hann aðeins var að eldast kallinn. Já, ég kannski gera það, hann ætti kannski að prófa þetta. En ég held að þið ættu bara að kveikja þættinum og munið næsti þáttur kemur bara eftir 2 daga. Ok, herru, gjöru svo vel og takk kærlega fyrir að hlusta. Today we have my dear friend Dwight Phillips with us, with us online, but he is a former world and Olympic champion in the long jump. And today we can kind of interrogate him about his career and stuff like that. I will admit, it's hard for me to speak English for that long, but I will definitely do my best. I know you're going to understand me, Dwight.
Oh, yeah, of course. I understand you.
So, in the introductions, you have 1 gold medal from the 2004 Athens Olympics, and I know they talk about 5 gold medals, but you actually have 6 medals from the World Championship because you have that 1 bronze also. 4 gold outdoor.
Yeah, don't remind me of that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes. Don't remind me of that bronze medal though. It still hurts.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. I'm sorry though. I'm gonna go through that everything. You started as a sprinter, right?
Yeah, I started off as a 400-meter runner. That was my race. It's a race that I enjoyed, and still to this day is my very favorite race to watch.
Not to run, but to watch.
Yes, I love watching it until finally my coach convinced me that I should focus on jumping. And after my second year of university at the University of Kentucky, I was sold that I was going to be an Olympic medalist in the 400 meters. I was convinced.
Okay. Do you think you could have been great in that?
Well, I mean, I always had the passion and the love for it. But sometimes, as an athlete, we have to be realistic and go with the event that's best for you. And many times, just for a coach, they may see greatness in you that you don't necessarily see in yourself. And my coach, when I was at the University of Kentucky, told me the very second day of practice, if you focus on jumping, you will win the Olympics. And I told him, no disrespect, coach, but I'm a 400-meter runner. And for 200 years, and for 2 years, I was pretty much a mediocre 400-meter runner.
So what was your time in the 400?
I ran a 46 seconds. 46.7 was my personal best. So it wasn't going to be competitive enough to make the U.S. team. But after my junior year of college, I jumped 8 meters 18 in the long jump, which put me in the top 15 in the world. So I had to make a choice, and it ended up being the best choice for me. And unfortunately, when you're young, you're not the smartest. And sometimes it takes smarter people around you to acknowledge, what you're best at. And then once I bought into what they told me, and I saw the results, and then the rest was history.
So I have a fun fact, because you went to University of Kentucky. I was actually going to University of Kentucky. I had already confirmed, but I changed my mind last minute, and I went to Clemson University.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Why would you do such a thing? For you.
No, wait. It was warmer in South Carolina than Kentucky, please. I'm from Iceland,
We had an indoor track. We had a nice, beautiful indoor track for you to accommodate you.
300 meter. You had a 300 meter track. That was cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. I went there a few times. Okay, but you actually have great times in the short sprints also, because I see here you have in the 100 meter you have 10:06. How much does it hurt that you didn't go under 10?
Oh, it hurts very bad. I just didn't give myself enough opportunity to do it. I really was one of my biggest goals to run under 10 seconds, but I had to always prioritize jumping or sprinting. And I don't think I was good enough to do both at a high level, but I was definitely good enough to jump very far. And that was my advantage, was my speed. And I used it to the best of my ability. And I produced great results due to the fact that I had that 10:06 speed in the 100 meters.
Okay, wait. So in the 60 meters, you have 6:47, which is one of the fastest times because you're still in top 30 best times in the world. Did you know that?
For 60 meters?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that was incredible. I knew that I could run pretty fast over 60 meters. I just struggled with the last 40 meters of the 100 meters because I trained with a world champion. His name was Tim Harding, and he ran a 6:43, I believe. And I also trained with the collegiate record holder at the time, and he had ran a 6:46. So I was accustomed to being in the same, had the privilege of training and doing starts with them on a daily basis. And as a result of that, me getting the proper repetition, running with people faster than me, I then over time, I got closer and closer and closer and closer to finally I end up beating them. So I really attribute those times that I ran to really training with people faster than me, because we have a saying here in the U.S., iron sharpens iron. And, as a result of me training with them, they made me a better athlete.
Yeah, that makes sense. I remember when we were at the Marietta High School track and we were supposed to run some sprints, and we always did like front, back. And I think I probably cheated a lot, because every time we did front, I just ran away because I was trying to beat you guys. To me, that was great memories. And I remember running scared.
Yes. We have such an elite training group, and the expectation when you train with elite athletes is it's great energy. And I was very blessed and proud of the fact to be able to train with great athletes like yourself.
Okay. So I want to go over your years more, because it starts was Sydney Olympics in 2000? Was that your first big national meet?
Yes, 2000 Olympics. I made that Olympic team, and I had two teammates that were from the very exact same city as me. It was Angelo Taylor and Terrence Trammell. One person won a gold medal, one person won a silver medal, and then now it's my turn, and I finished 8th place. So I am 8th place. But at the same time, I was proud because a year previous to that, I thought I was going to be running the 400 at the Olympics. So really making that Olympic finals, it gave me the confidence that I could be better and I would do better in the foreseeable future.
So Angelo Taylor, that was the race that he won in lane 1, the 400 hurdles, right?
Yes. He won in lane 1. And then Terrence Trammell, another day later, he won a silver medal. And then on the finals, both Angelo and Terrence, they were there, supported me, and I only can come up with 8th place.
Okay. A lot of people will actually love the 8th place, but I understand. But okay, so the next big meet I have that I found that you competed in is 2003, and that's when everything started going way up for you.
Absolutely. 2003 was a year where I had contemplated just giving up and just working a regular job because I wasn't able to sustain with track and field because I just wasn't one of the top people in the world. Finishing off in 2002, I had some great momentum. I beat the Olympic champion, Ivan Pedrosa. I beat all the top people in the world at the end of 2002. So it gave me confidence that I could compete against the very best. Okay. And in 2003, I had 2 goals, and 2 goals only. That was to win the World Indoor Championship and to win the World Outdoor Championship. And the only people who believed that was me and my coach, and maybe my parents and my brothers. Outside of that, people thought it was so unrealistic. And then in 2003 in Birmingham, England, my stiffest competition was a guy by the name of Yago Imela from Spain. I was winning the entire competition the whole time. And then in the final round, Yago passed me. And in the 5th round, I kind of felt something in my hamstring. So I thought I had it sewed up, but he passed me. And when it happened, I accepted the fact that I was going to get 2nd place. I was like, well, 2nd place is a hell of a lot better than finish 8th place. But then I had to remind myself, that's not why I came here. I said, I am going to win. So I was the last jumper. I was the last competitor of the day. So after my jump, the whole entire championship was done for that particular day. And so I started clapping, and everybody in the facility was clapping. And when I took off, and I won by 2 centimeters, and those 2 centimeters gave me the confidence of a lifetime.
Jeez, I saw a video of it because you almost ran like 200-meter lap afterwards celebrating.
Yeah.
It was great. But okay, so you have all the confidence, and now we have the outdoor season coming up. How was your mentality for that? Like you just knew, like
Yeah, like I had a goal. I talked to myself. I just to remind myself. I wrote it down on the mirror. Olympic world champion. I wrote it in my shoe. World champion. I wrote it in my car window. World champion. To remind myself that is the goal. And I saw it so much that I became it. And really honestly, before the competition ever started, I had already won in my mind. So all I had to do was go physically do it. And it came to fruition, and I won the outdoor in Paris. And that really set me up going into 2004 with the confidence that you know how to win, you know how to get it done. Let's go make that 8th place that you did in 2000 Sydney and created a first place.
okay. Like, have you always had like a strong mental game?
I feel that mentally, just growing up, I'm from Decatur, Georgia. It was always competitive with my parents. It was always competitive with my friends. Our sports, our recreation, it was always very competitive. I always also competed against people who were much older than me. So I had to rise to the occasion many times. So I think those young adolescent years prepared me for my adult years. So it created a very strong mental capacity as it pertains to competition.
But did you do anything else than track when you were younger?
Yes, I played basketball, played a little football. Um, as a child, we experimented with all the American sports, baseball. We tried it all. And it just taught you how to win. It taught you how to accept failure, how to bounce back from that failure. And if you fall down, you get right back up and you try again, and you just continuously get better.
Okay, okay. So now we're at 2004 Olympics, and it's in Athens. You were ranked number 1, and then you won your only gold medal from the Olympics. I know I'm always pointing at you like that, but you won by 12 centimeters, 8:59, and this was the 4th largest jump after Bob Beamon and the King Carl Lewis. How did that all feel? Please tell us.
Well, it felt like a surreal moment. But the difference between the Olympics and the World Championships the previous year, in 2003, I was still convincing myself all the time that you're going to win, you're going to win, you're going to win. So when I finally won a global championship, then I was very emotional. I was even more so emotional winning those championships than I was for winning the Olympics. Only because I was still uncertain in 2003. But in 2004, I knew I was going to win. I 100% knew that if I was healthy, how I had prepared myself, how I understood and studied the event, I was no longer guessing what I was doing. I was a student. I had become a student, and I knew exactly what I was doing. And I knew there was no way I could lose that one.
Did you won like in the first rounds, or was it the last few rounds, or?
I won in the very first jump. Very first jump, I won. My practice, I trained, I prepared myself. I had a conversation with Carl Lewis, and he said, well, what you have to do is jump so far on your first jump that it just makes all of your competitors think, well, this is better than my personal best. How can I beat him?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. I jumped further than anyone had jumped all year in the very first jump. So I knew that if someone responded, I would have jumped further because I was prepared to jump extremely far that year.
Jeez. And okay, so how did the first Olympic gold medal feel like? Like how is the feeling like knowing you're the Olympic champion?
You know, knowing that I was Olympic champion, it gave me even more confidence, but it felt great to uphold the legacy of all of the people from the United States had won the Olympics. Because in 2000, we didn't win because Ivan Pedrosa won. And I got a call from Carl Lewis after that Olympic Games when I finished eighth place. And he was like, "Hi, Dwight Phillips, got to speak with him." And I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "This is Carl Lewis." So I'm like, "Holy crap. Like, how did you get my number?" But he said, "What you did in 2000 at the Olympic finals is unacceptable. We do not lose the long jump. Don't let it happen again." And I'm like, "Yes, sir." So at that point, I don't have a choice. You know, he called me I didn't take it personal. I just took it as a compliment that he felt that I had the ability to win the Olympics. So everything that I did from that point on reflected winning the Olympics. I didn't party much. All I focused on was training, taking care of my body, and just trying to be the very best I could possibly be every single day. I really didn't take any days off. So I knew it was going to be a special time for me in 2004 at the Olympic Games.
Who was coaching you at that time?
In 2004, I started off, I was being coached by my college coach. His name was Greg Crabb and Daryl Anderson. They are from Arizona State University, because that's where I graduated from. It was Arizona State University. And from that point onwards, I'm at the Olympic Games by myself. So I had to rely on all of that knowledge that they had given me over the years. But I was such a student that I knew what to do, and the cards played out in my favor.
So can we talk about that feeling? Like, you won. You probably the last jump, right? Like in the long jump competition at the Olympics.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I explain a little bit, then people always get 3 jumps, and then they have 3 more jumps if you're top 8, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
And then the longest jump is the last jump. So it's so exciting watching the long jump. So you're like going on the line, and you're like, I know I won the Olympics. I'm the fucking Olympic champion.
Right.
And I mean, you can see how people like walk calmly over there, like soaking in the attention, and like everything stopped because it's the final jump, and you're gonna watch the Olympic champion, of course, and everything. And then you always see that, like, I don't know if they're always talking to themselves, at least they're acting like they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a show. It's like a show, like the sprinters do. And then like people look at the stand and they do their start doing the clap.
Right.
How does it feel? Tell me, please.
I mean, that feeling when you're out there and you have the entire world looking at you, and all of your competitors at this point, they're celebrating you because we already know the results. All the fans are clapping and they want to see something better. So at this point, you get a rush of adrenaline. And at that moment, all you want to do is try to exceed what you've already done.
Yeah.
And I tried, but I was moving so fast when I jumped, I just lost control. But I was just filled with joy to know that I had became Dwight Phillips, an Olympic gold medalist. That was insane.
So cool. See, I always wanted to do the long jump only so I can get everyone to clap for me. I mean, I could run fast, but I didn't even lift up. So that didn't happen. But only for the clap. That's my favorite thing. So every time people wanted to clap, I'm like the first one clapping, like, oh yeah, I got your back.
Right.
It's so much fun. All right, let's keep going. 2005, World Champion Helsinki, another gold medal. There's a lot of gold medals in a row. So were you still with your Arizona coaches there?
Well, no, in 2005, I was training with, I moved back to Atlanta and I started training with Paul Doyle. At least that's how we started off the season, training with Paul Doyle. That very same year, he started managing Asafa Powell.
Yeah.
So I kind of lost him outdoors and we had to do it on our own that year. But at that point, like I told you, I had became a student and I knew what I needed to do. I was self-motivated, as was everybody that was in our training group at the time. Everybody was very self-motivated. So we held each other accountable to training. And I started off the year running the 60s. I ran my fastest 60. That's when I ran 6:47. And I knew at that point, I don't think there is any other jumper in the history that has run 6'4". So I knew I had the speed that no other jumper had. So I knew it was going to be very difficult to beat me in Helsinki.
Yeah. See, this is a year that I joined the group. And
yes,
I told one story about you a lot of times because it was like interesting to me. Like I come from Iceland and I'm so like happy to be there with all these big names. Like I felt this tiny, but it was so much fun. And at one point we're like warming up and jogging, and then all of a sudden I see you walking up the hill. You're like walking up the hill, going to your car. And I'm like, Dwight, where are you going? And you were like, nah, I'm not feeling it today. I'm tired. And you just left. And I'm just like, hey, we have all this stuff we're supposed to do and everything. And at the time, I didn't understand. But afterwards, I was like, I understand that you just know your body so well, because we had that conversation, because I was like, why did you just leave? And you said, just, I know my body, and I felt that day I need a rest. And I'm like, well, the program, you said, well, we would just have to change the program. And I was just in my box. It said on the program, so I did it. But then I watched the world champion, and he's just like, nah, I'm tired. I'm going home. So that was like it was, like an epiphany or whatever you call it. I was just like, that's interesting.
Yeah, you become aware, like just your body, and for me, I was susceptible to injury, and I could just go with my gut instincts sometimes when I was going to injure myself, because there was only one way to train for me, and that was to train hard. It's either you're going to train hard or not train at all. And if I didn't have it in me to give my very best that day, I would rather miss one day of training than to miss 2 months of training because I'm injured.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you just have to pay attention to your instincts, because most of the times your instincts are not going to lead you astray.
No, true. Well, afterwards, I learned that from you, but I went myself into overtraining because I did everything on the program. So that was a lesson, and you always pop up. That moment walking up the hill, I'm just like, so maybe I should have listened to me. And the next meet we have is 2007, Osaka, and you don't want to talk about that.
Well, I mean, 2007, I was feeling myself.
Yeah.
I was the man, and all of the things that it took for me to get to the Olympic champion and a multiple time world champion, I didn't think I had to do it anymore. I felt that it was going to be given to me. I didn't have to work as hard. And as a result of that, I didn't even deserve a bronze medal. Honestly, I am partying. I'm having fun. The girls, everything that I didn't do from 2000 into 2005, I did in 2007. I had a blast. And it's probably one of the biggest regrets of my career, because once you lose it, you lose not only that, but you lose your confidence. You don't think you have it anymore. You second guess yourself. You don't trust the coaching. It's everybody's fault. But in reality, the only person's fault it was in this case, it was mine.
Okay, but did you understand it at the time, or you just had this when you walked?
It took a few years. I mean, I was overweight. It took a few years for me to truly understand it when I started working with Lauren Seagrave, and he just said it very simple: fat doesn't fly. And that did it for me. I was like, you know what? I gotta really have a thorough look in the mirror at myself and acknowledge where I am, how I look, how I behaved as it pertains to how the outcome of my results were. And I wasn't doing any of the right things. And I got exactly what I deserved. I was getting injured all the time. I was losing I was losing on every occasion. And it was a very humbling experience. And it took me nearly 2 years to climb out of that dark place.
Yeah, I was going to say, because 2008, Beijing, you didn't go there. So how did that feel? Like, did you watch the competition or did you think like, my time's up, or like, what did you go through your mind?
Yeah. In 2008 at the Olympic trials, I finished fourth place by a very small margin. I think it was 3 centimeters. And I tried to go to a meet in Paris a week afterwards. And I was performing so poorly that agents would come up to me like, hey, man, we think you should scrap your season and consider if this is something you want to do still. And instead of me, I had a series of probably 4 meets because I was still the reigning Olympic champion and they wanted to pay me a lot of money still to come to these competitions.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want my legacy to be just showing up. I wanted to show up, be able to perform and compete at a very high level. And in this case, they told me that I should go home. And these aren't even my agents. These are just people who I've seen over the years. And I was like, you know what? Shit, they're right. I can't take the losing. This is mentally, maybe my best years are over. I became a world champ, Olympic champ. What more can I ask for? It's over. I think I was 31 years old at the time. So it's over. And I went home. I scrapped the season. I was already retired in my mind. I was like, this is it. This is how it ends. This is the end of the story. And then Coach Lawrence Seagrave, he gave me a call. I was like, hey, just give me a try for 6 months. Let's just give it a go and let's see what happens. I think you still have a lot more in the tank. And me, I was like, man, I don't know. I'll come out to some practices and see what happens. So for the very first month or so, I was still on the edge, not certain if I was still going to be competing. And we decided to try some meets indoors. The meets indoors went very poor, but he had taught me some things within the technique, how to create my stride pattern, how to correct my stride pattern. And I just committed to that for like 7 months. And I mean, everything I did exactly what he said because I knew that if I could, maybe, just maybe I could compete at that level again. I lost the weight because he's like, fat doesn't fly. So I lost nearly 18 pounds. And finally, I got faster. I got my speed back again. That's when I ran 10.06 that year.
Mm-hmm.
And I opened up my season the best I had ever jumped in my life. I jumped 8:51 my very first meet. So he kind of pumped new life into me when he gave me the information, and I took responsibility for where I was, and I just wasn't afraid of the outcomes, whether it's a win or a loss.
So can I ask you, because when you're doing track, of course, you need sponsors, you're getting money from the meets and everything. Like when you went to this downfall, like what about your sponsors? Did you lose sponsors or did they still
Yes,
believe
I
in
did.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was with a long-term sponsor for my entire career. It was with Nike at the time. And because I didn't perform up to my ability in 2008, that was the last year of that contract. So going into 2009, I mean, I'm 32 years old. I got kids who are 21, 22. They're performing at the highest level. So if you want to invest some money, are you going to go with the up and coming, or are you going to go with the old and dried up Dwight Phillips? So I had to change that narrative by competing, by at a high level, by running fast, and by also jumping distances that the younger athletes didn't have the capacity to do. So when I jumped 850, then a few weeks later, I jumped 8.74 meters, and I went back to Nike and the other sponsors. I was like, I'm better than I've ever been, so I should get paid better than I ever have.
Oh, love it. But that 874, because I looked it up, of course, and that was, like it says, minus 1.2. So it's a wind in your face.
Yes.
Yeah. And this jump is still on all-time top 10 performances. As of now, it makes you the joint 5th best jumper of all time. That's crazy.
Yes, and all I was thinking about during the competition, it wasn't necessarily about the distance; it was about the win.
Yeah.
Because Irvin Saladino was the reigning world champion, the reigning Olympic champion, and we had a very high competitive spirit towards each other.
It was
Of
crazy.
course, I didn't like losing to him, and he didn't like losing to me. I didn't like losing to anyone, and I just didn't like the fact that he had been dominating, and it was going to be up to me to dethrone him just as he dethroned me. And that was my main goal, is to knock him off of that top spot. Because at this point, I had to climb my way back from the bottom, back to the top again. And that was a humbling experience, but I think it's a experience of life. And in life, sometimes you're just going to fall down and you just got to crawl back up. And that's what I did. And I proved to myself that age doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
That you still can perform at a high level at an older age. The pathway to get there may look a little different. Maybe I can't train at the same intensity, but maybe I can do cross training to help save my body. Maybe I can be a little more tougher mentally. I can be better technically, and I can apply all of that together as opposed to trying to muscle and be young. No, you just have to be smarter. And I learned that throughout those years of being down.
So you're still with Lauren Seagrave there, and how important is it that you 100% trust your coach?
Trusting your coach is very important because they're helping you navigate to the right destination. And not every coach can direct you to the right destination. He's been there. He worked with elite athletes, and really, I was a student. So part of the responsibility is on the coach, and the other part of the responsibility is on the athlete. If it's off balance on either side, then there's going to be a disruption in performance. So if I'm not trusting 100% in him, and I don't know what I'm doing as an athlete, it's going to be hard to be successful in the sport of track and field. But if you as an athlete, you're a student, you understand your technique, you understand that you have to take care of your body, you understand that you have to get the right amount of rest, you understand that when you feel that you're going to injure yourself or you're not doing the right things, maybe you have to pull back. And because if the day is not going to be 100% productive, come back the next day and make it better. Just don't try to force it. So over those years, I'm older now, so I'm 32. So I had to draw on those experiences to make sure that when it comes time for a championship, that I'm 100% prepared. So it's a partnership between the coach and the athletes. And you have to have very good communication to be successful.
I like that. That was great. Okay, so what I want to ask, when you're jumping and you're running down, what do you call it? The straightaway?
The runway. Yeah, down the runway.
Yeah. I can't remember all the English words. I'm getting there. So you're running down the runway, and do you know sometimes in the middle of the jump, damn, this is long?
Well, yeah. Sometimes you can feel it, sometimes you can't feel it. But when it's about the sheer emotion, for me, it wasn't necessarily about the distance. It was about the win. I really wanted to win. And if someone jumped previously before me, jumped far, my main objective was to just jump further than that. It wasn't a particular distance. It was all about the win. So when I jumped against my personal best against Irvin Saladino, the previous week he had beat me. He jumped 8.56 meters. I jumped 8.54 meters. So I was pissed about it. I was pissed. And my main goal, no matter if it took world record, I don't care. The main objective was to win. And I didn't care about it, but you can definitely feel the adrenaline. You can feel the rhythm of the approach. You can feel when you take off, and the moment you hit the sand, you know it's going to be a good jump. Sometimes I can feel that. Very frequently, though.
You know yourself.
Yes.
Okay, so now we have I'm going to say my favorite competition, and that's 2011. I can't say it. Daegu?
Daegu, Korea.
Oh,
Yes.
Korea. So the bib number you had, and even my sister, she was like, "Oh, I loved when he told the story about the bib numbers when he came to Iceland, because you already won 3 world championships outdoor, and this was the first one, and of course you had your eyes on it, and your bib number was 1111. So can you tell us about that?
Well, I'll just give you the backstory of it. I was number one going into the 2011 World Championships. I am a big underdog. I was projected not to even make the finals at the World Championships. Although at every World Championships, at the bare minimum, I've made the finals, but the critics said I wasn't going to even make the finals. So that had me very upset. Secondly, I'm going into that championship. I had been dealing with a Achilles problem, tendonitis and Achilles. So every step that I took was painful. So I didn't have the highest confidence coming into that competition. Although 3 weeks leading up to the World Championships, I didn't have the tendon pain and the Achilles, so I was able to train at a decent level. I wouldn't say at my best, but I was able to train pain free. And as I entered there, I want to say I finished 8th or 9th place at the U.S. trial. So all of the younger guys from the U.S. are so American. This is what I'm going to do when I win the world championships because I'm the man. And I'm sitting here listening to them. I'm like, wow, this reminds me of me when I was that same exact age. And I was like, but they think I'm soft. I couldn't believe it. I was like, they think I'm just washed up. They think I'm just not going to fight for it. So I talked with my coach. I was like, man, what time does everybody train? And he said they train at 11. I was like, well, we're going to train at 6 o'clock every morning. I don't want to see anybody. I'm going to be prepared. By the time they wake up and come to the track, I'm going to be leaving the track because I knew our qualification was really early in the morning. So I wanted to get myself in that competition mind frame the very first week I was in Daegu. So when I got there, we had the qualification rounds. I'm nervous, more nervous probably than I've ever been in my life. And on my very first qualification jump, I jumped 8 meters, 30 something. So I was like, whoa. I was like, it's over. I was like, I'm going to win this. Like, this is my destiny. So I then go back to the hotel room and I'm talking with Alan Johnson, which he was a huge role model and a great friend, which was an Olympic gold medalist. I'm talking to him and I'm taking my bib off and I look at my bib and it says 1111. And I say, Alan, this is crazy. Check this out, man. My bib number is 1111. And I was like, man, I've won 3 world championships. This means it's destiny. I'm going to win 4 world championships. And he says to me, he's a very mild-mannered guy. He looked at me and he was like, yeah, pretty much. So going into the finals, I jumped like 8:30 something in my first jump. I jumped 8:45 on my second jump. And that mark held as the winning jump of that World Championships and helped cement me to becoming the second person to win 4 World Championships in the long jump.
Oh my God. I remember all the video, like I actually looked at it yesterday, and you like take your number up and you're showing everyone and everything. It was so cool.
Yeah, I ripped it off and I was just elated because at this point in my career in 2011 in Daegu, nobody thought I had a chance. I was old. I'm 34 at this point. I'm old. I'm washed up. There's no way. But it wasn't about what anybody else thought. It was about the self-belief that I had in myself, that if I got to a championship and I felt good, I could beat anybody in the world. And that's exactly what I did.
Easy peasy. So what happened after that, after 2011?
2011, it went downhill. January 2nd of 2012, I completely ruptured my Achilles. So I was a favorite going into the 2012 Olympics, but I knew that at that point my career was pretty much over. I was riding that momentum from 2011 to 12. I was excited, and it was one of the coldest days of the year in Atlanta. Not quite like Iceland, but it was still cold. It was about 32 degrees.
Yeah.
Fahrenheit. 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's 0 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. It was 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
And I ran a 150 and I completely ruptured that Achilles. And my dream of winning the Olympics for the second time was crushed.
Yeah. How did that feel?
I mean, it was depressing because the first part of the depression is like I wasn't going to be able to perform or have an opportunity to compete at the Olympics. The second one, I'm on all these major campaigns. I'm on a credit cards. I'm on a cereal box all over the world, Kellogg's. And now I had to face the reality that I had to tell all my major sponsors that it's over.
Yeah. Oof. And you had your last competition in 2013 in Moscow, right?
Yes. Yeah, in 2013 in Moscow, because I won the World Championships in 2011, I had an automatic bid to compete in 2013. Yeah. My Achilles was it was swelling. It would swell so bad because sometimes it takes up to like 18 months post-surgery for you to even be back to 100%. And I just wasn't 100%, but I still was able to will myself to jump far enough to make it to the finals. But I knew I didn't have what it took to win. But I thought that maybe a chance that I can squeeze in and get a medal. But my body just wasn't going to allow me to. But I was not mad at all because I exceeded every goal that I ever had for myself. And more importantly, I became a student and I learned a skill that I can help other people attain some of the same things that I had set forth in my career.
Oof. Okay, that was a great career. That was, I love that, all of that, the package, the story. I think I'm going to put an end to the chapter 1 now.
Okay.
Because now I'm going to drag you into Coach Dwight Phillips.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say bye. I'm not saying bye though, but
Okay.
Let's start chapter 2.
Okay.
Takk fyrir að hlusta. Eigðu góðan dag. Gleðin með Silju Úlfars.